Okay.
I know what you're going to ask. I can already tell.
Yeah. What's the deal with the women?
Bring it on.
For women, it's even more astonishing. Before one of these quantum moments, the number one value is family. And it's not surprising because women are kind of raised in our society, in our culture, to be a good mother, to be a good daughter, to support your family, to take care of your children, and so on. The second one, which may surprise you, was a sense of independence, of feeling as if I would like to feel independent.
See, women are very conflicted.
Yeah, makes sense.
The third was career. Now, very often, women never even felt that they had a right to go for a career because they were obligated to be taking care of their family. And this is not a put-down of that at all. What we're saying here is that there's something more. The fourth quality for women was fitting in, having to be like everybody else and so on. Yeah. And then finally, attractiveness. And this became not just like it's nice to look nice, but my whole values are, and how do I look? And where do we get this?
You know what? That is so scary when you break it down like that, because where is it that we learn as women we're supposed to be pleasing everybody else all the time?
Well, go on the newsstand. Yeah. You know, all you see are magazines with pictures of girls with waists this big and, you know, with implants, lots of emphasis on makeup, having the right labels, carrying the right bags and so on. So these became the top qualities or characteristics or values for women before one of these shifts.
Well, I hope the after list is better.
Their values shift dramatically. The number one value for women after having this experience is right here, is my own personal growth. Now remember, before it was like taking care of everybody else, doing the right thing, fitting in, and now it's all of a sudden, how am I growing as a human being? How do I feel about myself? The second is a sense of self-esteem. Am I worth anything? How do I feel about myself? Am I a valuable human being? The third one is spirituality. My sense of my connectedness to something bigger and greater than myself. And then happiness. Again, this wasn't even on the list. It was almost at the bottom of the list before. How often have women been raised to believe that their happiness isn't an important thing, that doing what they are supposed to do rather than feeling, you know, a sense of, I'm entitled to be happy. And then a very interesting one, it's called forgiveness. This became very important in their lives. Forgiveness.
That's good, because then you can forgive all those people that gave you bad information about what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of resentment that begins to take place in people. It's what so many people just go along with. Oh, right. Joe.
This is great.
Hey, you're the best. Thank you so much.
This is great. We should be filming this.
Thank you very much.
Good night, guys. You guys did so well in the hike today. Good night.
Can I have a glass of water?
Of course you can. Jason, what's this? This paper and pencil wasn't here before.
I don't know. No idea.
Hey, Jason? I think I'm gonna take a shower.
Okay.
Store. Someone's getting rascally and spry. Fauna says to Flora, I really do adore ya. Flora says, I know, tell me why. You are like one hot spot in the sun after a long winter storm.
I don't know, would you guys like to hear? I think maybe the only true miracle that ever happened to me in my life.
A real miracle?
Yeah, it was an authentic miracle for me. It was a healing that took place that I still can't explain. So it was in the year 2000, and I had taken a group of 25 people on a spiritual tour to Assisi. I've made several visits there. In fact, I wrote an entire book called There's a Spiritual Solution to Every Problem, based upon the prayer of St. Francis. And I lectured for a couple of hours about it, and we all had visited the places where St. Francis had lived and performed so many of his miracles. The next day, we were going to take a tour to a place called San Damiano, where St. Clare, who was the first female to ever become a part of the Franciscans, lived. And on the third floor there was the bedroom, exactly as it was in the 13th century. There was a young man on that trip. He was 21 years old. His name was John. He was from Pennsylvania. He had cerebral palsy, and he had two very heavy braces on each one of his legs. We were going to go up to the third floor. Now, this was a winding staircase to get up to the third level where St. Clare's bedroom was. Now, John, in order to be able to go up the steps, he would have to move his leg out like this, you can imagine, and then he would go up the step, and then he'd bring the other one down, and then he'd go up the next step, and he would bring it back because his legs were stiff. But as we started to get into the very narrow part of the staircase, he couldn't, his legs wouldn't go out. He could only go this far, so he couldn't go up. And you can imagine he couldn't go down. It was impossible for him to go down. So there he was stuck. I was ahead of him. And he stopped me and he said, Wayne, I'm in trouble. I can't go up another step because I can't get my leg out to the side. There's no room and I can't go back down. What are we going to do? And there was a whole row of people behind waiting to go up this very narrow staircase. So you have the picture?
Old people don't whisper, 'cause old people can't hear. We'll just talk louder and louder, year after year. Stop looking at me funny, get over here, and I'll whisper. You have grape juice on your wine?
Oh, no. No, yes.
Old wills grow stronger. Old backs grow stiff. Old feet grow wider and longer. Old dreamers drift. I'm drifting over your way.
Denise? Denise?
So I said to him, without even thinking, John, what I want you to do is just strap yourself on over my back and put your arms around my neck and just lean over and I will carry you up these steps. Now, what I haven't told you is that before we went on this trip, I had done some major damage to this right knee of mine, to a point where I had it examined by several orthopedic physicians, and I was told that there would come a time soon when I would have to have this knee replaced because it was down to bone on bone. So as he got on my back, and now we're talking about 240 pounds or so, he went, I went about 3 steps, and I realized that my knee was about to collapse, and I was going to go straight down. And I had a quick vision of what the newspapers and the Assisi Daily News were going to say the next morning. Spiritual teacher collapses, bottom of the stairs, 40 people dead. You know, it was like... And so as my knee started to go down, at that moment, I saw a vision of St. Francis. I had a vision of what he would look like, and he didn't say a word. It was very, very quick, and he just went like this with his hands. In other words, stand up. And suddenly, and I had the fragrance of roses was in there, the same fragrance that I had, remember in the story I told you? In that quantum moment when I had that, the same kind of thing. And I stood up, and I started walking up the steps with him, and my knee just suddenly righted itself. It was fine. Not only did it right itself, but I suddenly had like a burst of energy like I've never had before. Wow. And I started walking faster with him on my back. Then I started running. And I ran up all of the stairs. My wife was waiting at the top, and she said, "What happened to you, and what are you doing? And everybody else is out of breath." And yet, I said, I had a miracle. I just don't know what happened. And I realized that my knee didn't hurt anymore at all, and I wasn't limping, and I had no pain in it at all. By the way, I've never had any surgery, nothing ever done to this knee. It was a healing that had taken place in that moment.